So this is a quick video, and this is the beginning of Unit 6, and there's some definitely some words that would be helpful for you guys to know. I'm going to focus on only 3 words for this little mini lesson. And you can see 2 of the words on your paper, or on my paper I should say, is expressions and then versus equations. Sometimes those get confused, but it's really not a big deal at all. So anyway, I'll jump right into it, then I'll talk about what other websites that you could be using right now to help you out with this. So an expression is well, it could be anything. So here's an expression. Let's say, there you go. There's an expression for you. Ta-da! Is that amazing? Here's another expression. Let's do this one. Ta-da! It's amazing. And then we'll do another expression. And those are all examples of expressions because right now they do not have an equal sign. So there is no equal sign in them. And so that's the number one thing that you have to know about expressions. Expressions are just a way of showing a value. So expressions show a value. So it could be any forms. It's just an expression. All right. So here's an equation. You ready? So an equation could be 6 times 4, and then I could have this as an equation. That's also an equation. The big thing that you notice is that you typically have, well, you always in an equation, you have an equal sign. So equations have equal signs. And you know mathematicians love to go ahead and solve math problems. So mathematicians, they always use equal signs, right? So, but I want you to notice though something, that right here I put an expression. So expression on either side of the equal sign. And what this means is the equation is that what's on one side of the equal sign expresses the same value of the thing on the other side of the equal sign. And so equations usually are like in a balancing act. Like this has to equal that. And if you get fancy pants about it, there's a way we can actually solve and discover using the equation. We can discover what x equals. And there's a rule that we're going to be talking about later on in Unit 6, and what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other side of the equal sign, which is just like the rule in a fraction. If you're talking about equivalent fractions, what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So that's a basic kind of rule. So that's essentially the only thing that I want you to pay attention to with in regards to expressions and equations. Equations have an equal sign, and what's on one side of the equal sign means equals on the other side. So these have to be the same. This side has to be the same as this side. Opposite sides of the equal sign are the same. Hence the word equal, right? Are the same. Now there is another word that I want you to realize, and I have 2 of these, and there is the word called variable. So the word is variable. So a variable is a letter used to show a missing number, essentially. Is a letter used for a missing letter, or a missing number, sorry, not letter. We already had the letter. A missing number. And in this case, you'd notice that we have a variable right here. We have a variable right there. Okay, and while we're talking about that variable, let's talk about something else that's pretty important. Let's talk about this whole thing. There's a coefficient here, but we're not going to talk about that too much because that's not too important. What is important though is what does that mean? This box right here, with that variable, when you have a number next to a variable, that is multiplication. So this 2x is the exact same thing as 2 times x. So it could be written as 2 times the number x. And of course we don't do that in math just for the simple fact we don't put that time sign is because in algebra we're talking about equations and variables and expressions, and with variables inside there it gets very confusing. So know that this and this times x, so you got two x's, it gets confusing, right? It says times x, I'll put it in parentheses, and also this 2 in parentheses x inside. They all mean multiplication, so those all mean to multiply. Alright, so that's it, and I kind of ran over my bracket with the word multiplication, but that's the essential idea of how you, or actually the necessary details you're going to need for lesson 1 and 2 and lesson 3 of unit 6. Now, if you're watching this video, I told you to go on to unit 6, and I want to show you on the website. I hooked up a unit 6 expressions equations for Khan Academy. You notice in lesson 1 there is no video, but anytime it gives you these practice things right here, go ahead and hit the start button and practice it. It's very good exercises, and it kind of helps explain some of the details in the lesson coming up. Alright, so here it says write an equation to represent this image, and so notice the word equation. So it is saying 5b, and they're connecting these, and the first thing that I think of is going to be 5 plus b. So 5, add to that, the letter b is going to equal, and I think it said 11. I don't know, I can't remember. I'm not too lazy to scroll up, check it. Yay, I got it right. So these are good lessons, and of course anytime you do a video, watch these videos, because these videos are really good for these lessons. He does a great job of explaining the details in it, and he explains a lot of the same ways that I would explain it. Of course, he doesn't mumble over his words and pause like I do, and his voice is much more suave than mine, right? But that's a good thing. Also use the practice buttons, okay? So anyway, that's it for the introduction of unit number 6 and the difference between expressions and equations and what a variable is. Alright? Well, I will see you later. Bye.